Taking responsibility for our actions, problems, and the challenges that come our way can be an arduous task. Often, we fear admitting that everything that has happened is a result of our choices and actions. Of course, some events are inevitable, and we can view them as tests that examine our strength and patience. Matthew McConaughey, in his book Green Lights, talks about different aspects of life and living it. I know I mentioned this book before in my videos, but it truly changed my life, and I think it's worth mentioning it. Recently, he hosted a live event called The Art of Living, which was attended by over 2 million people who actively participated. In one of the sections, he emphasized the importance of admitting that whatever happened and continues to happen is our own fault. He encouraged participants to admit things in the live chat, and it was incredible to see messages popping up starting with "I admit." People admitted to their addictions, staying up late and drinking and failing to drop off their kids at school the next day. I admitted to procrastinating on important tasks. Confessing our habits and mistakes is not an easy task for most of us, and I understand that. However, admitting them is a significant step toward moving on and taking action towards our goals. Often, we find ourselves complaining about our situation without acknowledging the fact that we might have played a role in creating it. We tend to search for someone to blame, avoiding admitting our own faults. By avoiding these confessions, we only feed our ego, which is merely an illusion. And this may not be true for everyone. Once we stop feeding our ego and start focusing on personal growth, we begin to admit our faults. Then we can finally say, it was my fault I didn't work out yesterday. Or it was my fault that I was late for work 3 times this week. Or it is my fault that I'm procrastinating. Once we take that step and accept responsibility for even the inevitable events in our lives, we gain a broader perspective. It is then that we can start finding solutions to our problems. I know, it's difficult to admit. It's difficult to admit mistakes, but it is achievable. I have a friend who constantly complains about his life and avoids taking responsibility. He often talks about how life isn't fair and how he works hard but sees no changes. He reminisces about the past, believing that things were better back then. When I remind him that he made choices, he reluctantly agrees but argues. How could I have known which choices was better? He talks about wanting to be rich and open a business, yet all he does is scrolling on social media and watch TV. He dreams of winning the lottery, convinced he deserves it. I always ask him, if you want to win the lottery so badly, did you buy a ticket today? The answer is always a resounding no. It's quite ironic, isn't it? I've tried to make him realize that change won't happen without effort, but he continually makes excuses and blames the inevitable. For a while I gave up on him, because he refused to admit and simply didn't want to change. Whenever he started to utter those same complaints around me, I interrupted him. I told him that he can't just complain and expect things to change miraculously. You can't merely wish for something in your mind and expect it to manifest in your life. There were instances when I stopped him from complaining until he eventually ceased or stopped discussing them with me. Eventually, one night while we were hanging out, he began admitting a few mistakes, and in his tone I could sense he was ready to move forward. He asked for help, and the best advice I could offer was for him to start writing about whatever was in his mind and bothering him. Anyway, I used my ignorant friend as an example to convey today's message in the most effective way possible. We need to admit. We need to admit who we are and what we have, or what we lack. If we desire change and refuse to make changes in our lives, it means we're content with our current situations and have no right to complain. I think this is a logical and reasonable perspective. So, my friends, I'm here to remind you, it's okay to admit. You need to admit, even if it feels shameful or painful. Once you start admitting, it means you're taking responsibility, signaling a desire to change, grow, and learn. Admitting our mistakes is the first step toward making positive changes in our lives. Don't be afraid to admit your mistakes in the comment section. Always remember, you are in control of your life. You make choices, so try to make the best out of them and give this life a beautiful purpose, because you shape the story and you're the one who gives it a meaning. Stay positive, and may your light continue to shine brightly.